Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US presidential poll race in last leg. Harris and Trump campaign in final push. New polls say Trump leading in all swing states except Iowa. Israeli PM visits a Lebanon border, vows to respond firmly to Hezbollah. Devotees attacked at Hindu temple by Khalistani extremists in Canada's Brampton. Opposition says completely unacceptable. India's External Affairs Minister to co-chair the 15th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue with Australian counterpart in Canberra. Also to inaugurate India's 4th consulate in Australia. First up, let's get you all the latest on the US presidential polls 2024 as the race to the White House nears the finish line. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris and her Republican rival former President Donald Trump put all efforts ahead of the Tuesday vote. As Kamala Harris campaigned in the battleground state of Michigan on Sunday, the Democratic presidential nominee urged voters to not fall for Trump's tactic on election fraud.
I would ask, in particular, people who have not yet voted, to not fall for his tactic, which I think includes suggesting to people that if they vote, their vote won't matter. Suggesting to people that somehow the integrity of our voting system is not intact so that they don't vote. And again, I think that it is a tactic. It is meant to distract from the fact that we have and support free and fair elections in our country.
In a video released on Sunday, the Democratic presidential nominee urged people to make a plan to vote ahead of Election Day.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. And yes, this race is going to be tight, but we are going to win. And one of the reasons why is you're going to vote. I know you are. So make sure you fill out your ballot. I did mine. I'm going to put it in the mail. And we are going to make sure that we fight together for the promise of America. And if you haven't yet, please make a plan to vote.
Former US President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump also held rallies in swing states to garner support in his favor. Addressing a rally in Pennsylvania, Trump said that he will bring back the American dream while taking a jibe at his Democratic rival and US Vice President Kamala Harris, stating that she had broken that dream and that he would fix it and vowed to fix it fast. He asserted that under his leadership, the country would experience a resurgence, stating that the US would be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. At a rally in North Carolina's Kingston, Trump said he is firm on his plans of tariffs, tax cuts, and immigration.
She said, I'm going to impose a sales tax on the people. No, I'm going to impose a tariff on the outside world, and they're going to pay it for their privilege of coming in and robbing our jobs and robbing our companies for years and years. They like to say that the sales tax is created by a tariff. No, it's not. This is look, I had a lot of tariffs. I took it. The most beautiful word in the dictionary to me is tariff.
Democratic candidate Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump remain in a tight race in the country's 7 battleground states 2 days before the US presidential election. The final New York Times Siena College polls show Vice President Harris with marginal leads in Nevada, North Carolina and Wisconsin, and former President Trump just ahead in Arizona. The two are in close races in Michigan, Georgia and Pennsylvania, according to the poll, which surveyed 7,879 likely voters in the 7 states from October 24th to November 2nd. World attention is focusing on the U.S. presidential election as the political atmosphere within America is getting increasingly intense as the election day approaches, with multiple states, especially the swing states, preparing for potential election violence and unrest. Security forces across the capital are on high alert. 2 days ahead of the election, workers were seen putting up additional security measures outside the White House and the official residence of the vice president. Secret Service agents guarded the building. This election cycle, some campaign speeches have contained violent rhetoric, and courts around the country have been inundated with pre-election litigation. More than 74 million people had already cast their ballots as of Saturday, which is nearly 47% the total number cast in 2020 presidential election. That includes 4 million voters in Georgia, or 80% of the total that voted there in 2020. In the battlegrounds of Arizona and North Carolina, roughly half of eligible voters have already shown up. And in 3 states, Connecticut, Delaware and South Carolina, early voting has surpassed 2020 levels. Israel on Sunday pressed on with its campaigns in Lebanon and Gaza, launching several deadly strikes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited his country's northern border. Netanyahu's visit came after an airstrike killed at least 3 people near the southern Lebanon city of Sidon, as per the Lebanese Health Ministry, and as more bombs hit the country's east. Israel's military said more than 100 projectiles were fired from Lebanon into Israeli territory on Sunday. Several were intercepted and some fell in unpopulated areas. Hezbollah fired a barrage of missiles at an Israeli Air Force technical base in the northern coastal city of Haifa. While at the border, the Israeli Prime Minister said that Hezbollah must be pushed back to Litani, whether there's a deal or not.
With or without an agreement, the key to returning peace and security in the north, the key to returning our evacuated residents in the north safely to their homes is to push Hezbollah back beyond the Litani River, to strike any attempt by it to rearm, and thirdly, to respond forcefully against any action against us.
Israeli troops recently detained an individual in Syria, which the IDF said was an Iranian operative who had gathered intelligence on Israeli troops in the border area. The Israeli military named the person as Ali Solomon al-Asi, a Syrian citizen from the area of Saida in southern Syria. It said the operation took place in recent months, however, gave no exact date. Al-Asi has been brought to Israel for investigation. A former spokesperson of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been detained by the country's government. The man, identified as Eliezer Feldstein, has been detained for allegedly leaking confidential documents that may have harmed Gaza hostage deal negotiations, as per a court said on Sunday. Feldstein was detained along with 3 other people, including security officials, said the court, in the coastal city of Rishon LeZion. News of the case has led the opposition to question whether Netanyahu was complicit in the leak, an allegation denied by his office. Canadian opposition leader Pierre Poilievre has strongly condemned the recent attack on Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton by Khalistani extremists. Poilievre called the attack as completely unacceptable and emphasized that all Canadians should be able to practice their faith in peace. In a post on social media, he stated that conservatives condemned the attack and promised to unite the people and end the chaos. Meanwhile, Kevin Vuong, Toronto MP, also condemned the attack and asserted that Canada has become a safe harbor for radicals, and asserted that country's leaders have failed to protect Hindus just like they failed to safeguard Christians and Jewish Canadians. Canadian Member of Parliament Chandra Arya also condemned the attack on the temple and said that a red line has been crossed by Khalistani extremists, highlighting the rise of brazen violent extremism in Canada. The recent attack adds to a string of similar incidents documented in recent years, underscoring a distressing trend of religious intolerance During the last few years, Hindu temples in the Greater Toronto Area, British Columbia and other places in Canada are being vandalized with hateful graffiti. The King and Queen of Spain have been heckled by angry protesters during a visit to flood-hit Valencia. King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia visited the town of Paiporta, one of the most affected by the floods that have killed more than 200 people, alongside Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and other officials. The king faced chants of "murderer," where locals accused authorities of a lax response to the disaster. With mud on their faces and clothes, King Felipe and Queen Letizia were later seen consoling members of the crowd. Sanchez's office in a statement said the Prime Minister had been taken away following security protocol. Meanwhile, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said on Sunday that the violence was marginal during his visit with Spain's royal King Felipe and Queen Letizia and praised the solidarity of the citizens.
La amplísima mayoría de la ciudadanía lo que quiere.
The vast majority of citizens want a solution, commitments on the part of public institutions, and obviously what they do is reject and marginalize any kind of violence that may be perpetrated, such as those we have seen unfortunately today.
Pueda perpetrar, como las que hemos visto.
Moldova's pro-Western incumbent President Maia Sandu has won a second term in a pivotal presidential runoff against a Russia-friendly opponent. According to the Central Electoral Commission, Sandu had 55% of the votes, with almost 99% of votes counted in the second round. Her competitor, the former Prosecutor General Alexander Stoyanoglu, was polling at just over 45%. On Sunday, Moldovans voted in a runoff election which was seen as a critical indicator of whether the country's long-term geopolitical alignment would be with Russia or Europe. Speaking at the headquarters of her Action and Solidarity Party in the capital Chisinau, Sandu said her priority in the coming years would be to be president for all Moldovans. And let's see what's happening around the world. As tension looms between police and people blocking roads in Bolivia, Bolivian President Evo Morales urged the need for dialogue between the government and his supporters to avoid bloodshed. Morales' supporters are currently blocking roads to protest, in fact, the country's poor economic situation. The government claimed supporters of Morales have seized a military post in the Cochabamba state, taking more than 200 soldiers hostage. Thousands of people marched through central London demanding action on cleaning up Britain's rivers and seas with stricter enforcement of companies who break pollution rules. Protesters say over 85% of the rivers are failing to meet the standard of good ecological status. Protesters urged government to prioritize clean water policies, highlighting the risk pollution poses to biodiversity. Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah has appointed a new acting foreign minister following a cabinet decision issued on Sunday. Hossein Awad Ali has been relieved of his duties, with Ali Youssef Ahmed taking his place. This reshuffle comes as Sudan faces pressure to mend strained international ties and navigate a complex geopolitical environment. Google Maps is embarking on an AI-powered transformation aimed at enhancing user experience and making navigation smarter. With this technology, Google Maps will offer more personalized routes based on real-time data like traffic conditions and individual preferences, providing faster and safer travel options. AI will also improve visual features, allowing users to explore neighborhoods in immersive details. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. First ever session of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory Assembly is beginning on Monday amid heightened security arrangements. 8 OPEC Plus members extend oil supply cuts until end of December. And Max Verstappen wins a rain-lashed Brazilian Grand Prix on Sunday.
Who will be the next president of United States of America? Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
To decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacted with members of the vibrant Indian community in Brisbane, Australia. Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke about the strong India-Australia comprehensive strategic partnership and the efforts, vision and leadership by both countries to energize it. Jaishankar also said that the upcoming opening of India's 4th consulate in Australia is a step forward in friendship between two nations. Jaishankar said that India and Australia share a long history in trade and economy.
Relationship in a way has just begun, that there are immense possibilities, that we have today. Treat these 10 years as a foundation. This is a foundation which all of you and all of us together have to build on. We see in every domain, the manner in which our defense collaboration has grown in the last decade has been really very impressive. There are a number of occasions where our military work together very closely, and the extent today of the cooperation is something we couldn't have even imagined 5-10 years ago.
Later in the day, Dr. S. Jaishankar met the Chancellor of University of Queensland, Peter Verkes, in Brisbane. They discussed matters related to educational and research collaborations between India and Australia. Jaishankar will also co-chair the 15th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong in Canberra. He will deliver the keynote address at the inaugural session of the second Raisina Down Under to be held in the Australian Parliament House. The first ever session of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory Assembly is beginning on Monday amid heightened security arrangements in the wake of recent spurt in terror attacks in the Union Territory. The Assembly session will take place at the Assembly Complex in Srinagar, where newly elected members will convene to discuss crucial issues, including potential tabling of a statehood bill. As per the list of the business, a motion will be moved in the House to choose Senior National Conference leader Abdul Rahim Rathar as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. After the Speaker's election, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha will address the Assembly. In Jammu and Kashmir's capital Srinagar, at least 12 people were injured in a grenade attack on Sunday. The blast occurred at the Sunday market near the tourist reception center in Srinagar. The explosion caused panic in the area and sent shoppers scrambling for cover. Police has taken cognizance of this act of terror and is committed to ensuring that the perpetrators are brought to justice. The grenade attack comes a day after top Pakistani terrorist affiliated to Lashkar-e-Toiba was gunned down by security forces in Srinagar. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address two rallies in poll-bound Jharkhand. Polling for the Jharkhand Assembly elections will be held on November 13 and November 20. The counting of votes will be held on November 23rd. Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed 3 political rallies in the state on Sunday and released the BJP's election manifesto outlining 25 resolutions to mark 25 years of state's formation. November 4 is the last date for withdrawing nominations for Maharashtra Assembly elections. According to reports, around 36 candidates from the Mahayuti and 26 candidates from the Mahavikas Aghadi have turned rebel. The candidates have filed nominations against each other and have created friendly contests among the allies in many constituencies. Leaders of both the alliances are trying to pacify these rebels to withdraw their nominations before Monday. Voting in the state will be held on 20th of November and counting of votes will take place on 23rd of November. Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav visited Tamil Nadu's Coimbatore railway station on Sunday following his visit to South Indian state of Kerala, where he sanctioned 393 crore rupees for the renovation of Thrissur railway station. The railway minister received a warm welcome at the Coimbatore railway station, after which he left for Coimbatore airport. Let's take a look at other stories making news today. As northern state of Uttarakhand's Haridwar is set to celebrate the 8th edition of Ganga Utsav on Monday, preparations for the event are carried out in full swing at the Chandi Ghat in spiritual city. Aimed to promote the conservation of river Ganga, the event highlights Ganga's cultural and spiritual significance and raise awareness among the public towards cleanliness. People in huge numbers flocked to the Deepavali Mela held at Mata Tripura Sundari Temple on Sunday. Situated in the northeastern state of Tripura, the temple is considered as one of the revered 51 Shakti Pithas. The Border Security Force Kashmir Frontier organized a half marathon in Jammu and Kashmir to raise awareness for the Asia's second largest freshwater lake, Wulla Lake. The event aims to showcase the beauty and significance of the lake and to promote conservation and sustainable development as a tourist destination under the logo Save Wulla, Run with Borderman. On to business news now. 8 members of the OPEC Plus group of oil-producing nations has taken a decision to extend supply cuts until the end of December. The countries have agreed to extend the November 2023 voluntary production adjustments of 2.2 million barrels per day for 1 month until the end of December 2024. The 8 OPEC Plus nations are Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria and Oman. They have been delaying production increases amid concerns over slowing demand in China and the United States, which has weighed on oil prices in recent months. The US Federal Reserve is widely expected to cut interest rates again this week, while votes are being counted in one of the closest fought presidential races in decades. The Fed's 2-day rate meeting begins on Wednesday and is expected to result in a 0.25 percentage point rate cut the following day. The United States has remained a bright spot in the global economy this year, with inflation falling toward the Fed's 2% target, while growth has remained robust and the labor market has remained surprisingly resilient despite recent signs of cooling. Max Verstappen won a chaotic, rain-lashed Brazilian Grand Prix on Sunday, roaring back from 17th on the grid to reignite his push for a 4th successive world title. It was the Red Bull driver's first Grand Prix victory since Spanish Grand Prix in June and delivered a bitter blow to Lando Norris's title chances as the McLaren driver dropped from pole position to 6th at the finish. Verstappen now has a 62-point lead over Norris in standings, with 60-point margin required after the Las Vegas Grand Prix on November 23rd to see him crowned a 4-time world champion with 2 races remaining. Germany's Alexander Zverev won the Paris Masters by defeating home favourite Hugo Humbert 6-2, 6-2 in the final. The 27-year-old has now clinched 7 ATP 1000 level titles over the course of his career. It was a happy return to Paris for Zverev after he lost the French Open final to Carlos Alcaraz in June this year. 4 years ago, he lost the Paris Masters Championship match to Daniel Medvedev. His victory in Saturday's semi-final meant the current world number 3 will overtake Spain's Alcaraz in new updated rankings. The German will next play the ATP finals in Turin from November 10 to 17. Indian shuttler Malvika Bansod went down against 7th seed Mia Blichfeldt of Denmark in the final of Hyler Open badminton tournament in Saarbrücken city of Germany. Bansod had no answers to the explosive game of the experienced Danish shuttler, resulting in straight game defeat. She lost 10-21, 15-21 in the summit clash of the Badminton World Federation World Tour, though Bansod was in good form this year. She won the Azerbaijan International in February and reached the US Open semi-finals in June. From October to December each year, buckwheat flowers bloom across the Ha Giang Stone Plateau in Vietnam. Painting the landscape in vibrant shades of pink, these small yet resilient flowers thrive amidst the rugged mountains, drawing thousands of domestic and international visitors who come to admire their beauty and experience the stunning scenery. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.